Tri-County Contracting, worry-free roofing, siding, and windows. To sign up for a free estimate, get info on their worry-free roof tune-up or their free yearly roof inspections, or to get an instant roof quote, visit them online at tricountycontractingwi.com.
Well, and I also think if you're an incumbent and you rely on being an incumbent to being reelected and you don't have to go out and talk to people, all of a sudden, if you have 4 competitors in the general election with you, you have to get out and talk to constituents because the other 4 sure are going to do that to try to unseat you.
Live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue in downtown Milwaukee, this is Wisconsin's Morning News. Here are your hosts, Eric Bilstad and Vince Vitrano.
Coming up on 12 minutes after 8 on Wisconsin's Morning News, Eric Bilstead, Vince Vitrano here with you until 10 o'clock. And E and I are off to EAA Air Venture Oshkosh.
First day back and you want to get out of the office, huh?
Let's go. Field trip day.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you, Greg. Greg Pancake Hill produces the program. He's not able to go on the field trip. Are you? There's no way you could come.
Well, when you learn about the invite on the air, I'm kidding.
No, we just assumed you're very busy.
Cannot go, but I will be happy to hear what you document.
An important election taking place tomorrow. It's not choosing a political leader, but it is politics adjacent. Which is the best topping for ice cream? Is it caramel? Is it nuts, sprinkles, or hot fudge? Who cares? And what's any of that got to do with politics? It's a demonstration of what they call Final Five voting, in some cases similarly called ranked choice voting. There may be some differences there, which we'll get into. And some local officials think it could be the way to fairer elections that yield results more palatable to a political middle. And to talk about that this morning, we have Milwaukee County Supervisor Sky Capriolo and Tracy Hunter from Voters First Wisconsin in studio with us this morning. Thanks to you both for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. Thanks. All right. So let's start with the event that you have tomorrow night and why you asked people to vote. And in the interest of full disclosure, Supervisor, I will say that my choice was hot fudge because you could only pick one. I'm not saying I don't like the others. But you can only pick one. Why you ask people to vote for their favorite ice cream topping, and then we'll get into how the demonstration may be transferable to politics.
Okay. Well, so Final Five voting really opens up the primary and takes out political parties in the primary. So anyone can go and run in the primary, and any voter can go and vote for anyone they want. They don't have to say I'm voting Republican or Democrat. So the whole thing with the ice cream toppings is we picked 10 popular toppings and asked people to vote in the primary. Basically, our made-up primary, it was a link. The top 5 of those go on to the general election, which is our meeting tomorrow night, the information session tomorrow night. So people will get to see what ranked choice is like. So that's the you're getting a real taste of what this could be.
A taste. I see what you did there. Right. Will ice cream be served or?
Yes. Okay. I'm buying ice cream today. We bought all of the toppings this weekend.
Nice. Fantastic. So Tracy, all right. So we end up with 5 tomorrow. Then how does that work? Like, how does the voting go from there?
Right. So that's where the ranking system comes in. So to be clear, in the primary, everybody was on the same ballot. And the important part is 5 winners advance, not just one from each party, but 5 advance. So you have a lot more choices. So there's 5 plus write-ins in the general election, and then all the voters get to rank them 1st through 5. They can vote for as few or as many as they want. And in order to win the general election, you have to have a majority. So we're guaranteed you have a majority winner that at least more than half the people think are acceptable.
So the flavor you like the most, you'd rank as 1.
Right.
And then if you wanted to go down to 5, you would.
Right. And then they do successive runoff elections. So if somebody wins in that first round, if there's someone with over 50%, it's over. It's there's a winner. It's easy. But if not, then the lowest vote getter gets removed by the computer system instantly, and then the second choice votes for all of those people that were removed, they stay in the game, and they get added to the first choice votes for the other 4 candidates. And then we look and see, do we have a majority winner? Keep doing it until.
And so you don't vote over and over again. You're still going based on that ranked choice.
Correct. And there's a lot of states and places where they require a majority winner, and they actually need to come back a month later and vote again. So this gets rid of that problem.
Supervisor Capriolo, so why is this something that's on your radar in terms of like a real possibility, perhaps? Would you start at the local level and look to broaden it out?
Well, I think what the goal would be in the state of Wisconsin is this is how we would elect our national officials. So our senators and our reps in Congress, whether it gets trickled down to the local level or not, I think eventually that would be great. I don't know how realistic it is in the next 5 years. I would like to see us be a Final Five state for our national representatives first.
Tracy, what does your research show you? Like, is there an appetite for that? And who would you see politically is really in favor of it, and who might be the dissenters?
Yeah, so I think there's a very good chance. There's a lot of interest. Thinking about the U.S. Congress, that's where we would start in Wisconsin. Only 20% of the people think that Congress is doing an acceptable job, yet they get reelected 95%
all
of the time. Yep. So there's something wrong there. The system is kind of broken. So who would the winners and losers be? The winners would be the voters. I think we'd probably have more people voting because they see that it works. A lot of the elected officials and candidates, I think, are winners too, because now they can do their job. They don't have to just do what the party tells them and the big money tells them. If there is someone that is going to give some pushback, it's probably the party leadership, just being honest. Not always, but in both parties.
Right. On both sides?
Right.
On both sides, yeah.
The party in power doesn't like change, I think, is the message
exactly.
there.
Right, yeah.
But I think you should talk about Alaska, because Alaska is a Final Four state. Mm-hmm. And the lead Republican in their legislature did not want this to happen. And since it's happened, she's become the biggest proponent of it.
That's right. So they are the first state to have it. They instituted it 4 years ago and had one election with it. And most people think it's very successful. And they've been able to accomplish a lot. And the the Senate Majority Leader from their state is a strong advocate. She wasn't originally, as Sky had said. And she is responsible for overseeing the progress in the Senate there. And they've gotten all kinds of difficult things done in the last session. They had a budget surplus. They reworked their state pension system. The indigenous population feels a lot more represented. There's more women in their legislature than ever before. In fact, a majority of the women of the Senate members are women. Mm-hmm. So it's had dramatic results so far.
What really makes me feel hopeful about something like this is it really bothers me when the number one goal of a political party is to make the other party fail, because then they're failing us as people and constituents. So I think most people are like me. We're not out here in the extremes. We want things that are more toward the middle, and Final Five voting seems to deliver that.
You know, one of the questions that often comes up whenever something new is suggested, right? And Vince knows what question I'm going to ask. It's, well, how do you police that? You know, how do you make sure? Because I got to admit, as a cynic, or a skeptic, I'll say, because that's more attractive.
I think that's more accurate. You're not a cynic.
How do you prevent someone from gaming the system? You know, because you would imagine, just like now when someone tries to endorse a third or fourth party candidate just to siphon some votes away, is there a way to make this foolproof where that would not happen, where a party wouldn't find a way to rank it differently to help their people get into power?
Well, there might be 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans on the same general election ticket. So then the party, I guess, has to decide, or are we throwing all of our weight against one and leaving the others to drown?
Yeah.
So that's why it takes some of the political parties out, and it takes that special interest money out, because if you're someone who is really just after the Republican talking points, and whoever that candidate is, you are going to throw money at them. Now you maybe have 2 or 3, and you have to decide, which one do I want to support?
Right.
You could probably,
am I all in on one, or are we better off by spreading our support?
It is possible for any system to be gamed. I think this one would be much more difficult to game than the current system. Final Five would be much harder. And remember that there's going to be 5 people there, and it's going to be Republicans competing against Republicans, Democrats against Democrats. There will be some independents. There will be some green. So it's going to be a competition for the best ideas. And you don't have to get the party, behind you to be able to make it to the general. So I think we're going to love the choices. I think about it as, right now we often have the lesser of 2 evils as far as our choices.
How many times do we hear it?
Yep,
right.
all the time.
You hear that a lot. Not in all races, Sky. I'm sure yours had
well,
great choices.
I was the only person in the race. And you got the best.
Yeah, there you go.
So I think this gives us a chance to replace the lesser of 2 evils with good, better, and best.
Well, and I also think if you're an incumbent and you rely on being an incumbent to being reelected, and you don't have to go out and talk to people, all of a sudden, if you have 4 competitors in the general election with you, you have to get out and talk to constituents, because the other 4 sure are going to do that to try to unseat you.
Tracy Hunter is from Voters First Wisconsin, and Sky Capriolo is Milwaukee County Supervisor. Thank you both. And so do you have a prediction as to what's going to emerge as number one?
Well, I have to say Team Hot Fudge is going in pretty strong. I will just drop that the event is tomorrow night in West Milwaukee at the Community Center, and it's limited space, but we do have a few spots open. So if people want to drop in, it's from 6 to 7:30. I would get there at 6 to make sure you get in, because we do have an RSVP list.
Well, thanks so much. As long as we have you here, Supervisor, I want to take a quick break. And can we throw a few questions at you about the Milwaukee County Transit situation? We got the $11 million deficit that popped up, a surprise to many over at the courthouse. And then on top of that, we got this issue with the bus drivers that remains unresolved. So let's do that next on Wisconsin's Morning News. 8:25 on Wisconsin's Morning News. Great to be with you. We have in studio 15th District County Supervisor Sky Capriolo, and we were talking about another issue earlier, but as long as I have you, Supervisor, a lot going on with Milwaukee County Transit System, and wanted to throw a few questions at you on that. We'll get to where the bus drivers are in their negotiation with MCTS in a moment. But I think a lot of folks, could you explain what the relationship is between Milwaukee County and MCTS? You don't run the buses.
Right. And I'm going to look over at Eddie Cullen, our comms person, to just make sure I'm saying this correctly. But MCTS is its own company that MCDOT, Milwaukee County Department of Transportation, oversees.
Okay.
So, but they're not necessarily employees of the county. They're employees of MCTS. So it's a different entity.
So it came as a surprise to many at the county courthouse that MCTS was running this $11 million projected deficit. And first of all, Eric and I talk all the time, you never want to surprise your boss, not even with good news, right? You want the boss. And so that was step one in this whole thing, was how were folks caught off guard about a fairly substantial deficit?
Well, I think that's exactly what my county board colleagues on transit and transportation are trying to figure out. We're asking for a step-by-step analysis of how did it get to this point and how are we not notified? The media was notified before we were on the county board. So it's almost like if every department is a child of the county board, MCTS right now they're the ones that are raising their hand. We need attention. So as the parent organization, the county board now needs to really drill down and see what is it that happened and how can we make sure this doesn't happen again? And in the meantime, how are we going to correct what we can?
One thing that concerns me before we get to where we are in the contract negotiations is you had a couple of high-level resignations right after that news came out. You had your Department of Transportation director, and then also MCTS lost there, who was already at that point an interim director. That means one of a couple things to me always. It's like, oh, this is going to get bad. I want out before it does, or there's something more wrong there. Do you have any sort of indication as to which it is?
I don't. I will say that I was really disappointed to see Donna Brown Martin step aside. I really like her, and I don't know the inside story about why she decided to retire. And when she did retire, I thought, well, what about Julie Esch? Julie Esch is the person in the fire.
Yes, she's at MCTS.
And then, shortly after, she also stepped aside. So I agree. I think it's a little suspicious, and we'll definitely get into what did Donna Brown Martin know? What did Julie Esch know? Was anyone hiding anything? Or had nothing to do with either one of them, and they can be exonerated and fully celebrated in the county?
One of the things that we discussed too when this first came out, what was it? Is some of the things that MCTS was focused on, and Vince and I don't necessarily think exactly the same on this one, but it was basically, I'm trying to think of how it was described as to what its motivations were versus just driving the bus.
Oh, there was a lot of stuff in their report about adhering to the county's overall goals, and there was a lot of diversity goals in there, and
racial equity.
Yes, all of those things, and I understand that's an overarching goal for the county, but my first reaction is I don't know. You know what really helps diversity, and you know what really helps equity, and all these things? Drive the bus. Why are we focused on all this outside stuff and run a really great transit system?
Point B.
That's going to help all that.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I can't argue with, we need a better transit system to serve our population. And absolutely, if we have a state-of-the-art transit system, then everyone gets the opportunity to ride. Correct. So how do we get there? We have a new interim chief.
Yes.
So, and the new hire that actually is going to be taking over has experience with Chicago Transit. And I think Chicago is known as a city that knows how to do transit. So maybe we'll be able to adopt some of those philosophies and procedures up here.
Step one, though, let's get the bus drivers locked in at some sort of contract. I don't have an interest as to who's right or wrong in this particular battle, but I definitely hear the bus drivers who are very concerned about their own personal safety. And also when we have this report that MCTS estimating some 25%, so 1 in every 4 riders is just skipping fare.
Well, and what's interesting on that,
we expect them to handle that?
Right. What's interesting about that is the Connect One route has a 33% fare evasion stat. So, and that route came across in what started in 2023. It's the BRT. It takes people Wisconsin Avenue from downtown out to Wauwatosa and back for jobs. And the first few months were sponsored and they were free. So did people get on at that point and then just figure,
hey,
well, I'm just grandfathered in for the rest of my time riding the bus? Are people purposely trying to do this, or did they just not know any better? Do we need to have a better PR campaign on the buses? And yes, do we need to train our bus drivers to know if someone is paying or not?
How do you police that?
Right. Yeah.
Well, and you can't put a cop on every bus, but I don't know the other way around. Also, I don't expect, and I wouldn't expect a bus driver to have to get up and just like we talk about shoplifting at Walgreens that are closing or whatever. You don't expect a clerk to step out from behind the counter and get in somebody's face. So I honestly don't know what the solution is there.
I don't either, and I actually have not talked to the union representation for the bus drivers on this and
like what do they want?
What their solution is. I know they've been working without a contract for a while, and so getting a contract is really important to them. I don't think there's a bad guy as far as the union or MCTS. I think we have two really good entities who have the best of hopes that this all works out. And so now it's just, how do we compromise? How do we get that signature on the contract so that our bus drivers are protected and MCTS is able to provide services to our people?
Sky Capriolo is the 15th District County Supervisor here in Milwaukee. Appreciate your time this morning. That was interesting stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate being on.
Do you want to tell the world that your husband beat me in pickleball? Go ahead.
My husband wants me to tell the world that he beat you in pickleball at the Summerfest celebrity. Tony Capriolo.
He's on record.
It's not that hard, though, right? I mean,
it's not that hard to beat me in pickleball. No, right.
I will say that you beat me. I think me and my partner twice, and my husband was my partner the first time. And my partner the second time, they just didn't show up for me. So I'm going to put that out there to the universe as well. We will rematch West Milwaukee pickleball courts. Come on a Sunday. We'll do it again.
That's a match. 8:31 on Wisconsin's Morning News.